The Radium Podcast, episode 80. Thanks for tuning in. You're here if you want to learn more about music business, production, mixing, mastering, branding, techniques for the independent artist. Of course, if you're already blowing out the charts, you don't really need to watch this kind of stuff.
Or maybe you might.
Or do you?
Exactly. We got the top secrets in the game.
That's right.
Nobody knows.
So we're going to get into it. We got a really great podcast this time around. It is getting into March. We're in March 2020. We got 5 ways to develop your brand as an artist, as a producer, as a composer. You know, I see this all too often. We're not going to just sit here and talk about artists because you composers out there, you're doing a lot of stupid shit. A lot of producers out there doing dumb stuff. And even engineers that are trying to, get more recording, more studio time, etc. How do we develop your brand? How do we really get you to stand out on all these platforms?
Yeah, we had a branding podcast not too long ago on kind of a similar topic, but we're going to talk about how you can actually build this versus, how you're messing it up, because that's kind of what we did last time.
Right, the mistakes, right? So we'll talk about some mistakes as well, but let's get right into it. The first thing is, I think is kind of a duh, but you got to be consistent. You got to keep consistent with all of your branding. If you start to stray away from what makes you you or makes you unique, especially on the online world, you're just going to get lost in the shuffle. You're going to get kind of clouded out. But consistency is always going to be the game when it comes to branding, when it comes to success overall. If you're not consistent with something, you can't be consistent with something. Figure out what kind of schedule you can get consistent with. So, like a good example of this is, people want to drop records and they're like, yeah, man, I just dropped a record. And then they promote it for like a week and then they stop. And then you're like, well, nobody has actually even heard the song yet. And records need to be worked for 6 months, a year, 2 years. You need to get remixes. You need to get keep pushing new content out and see what works and what doesn't work. But if you're only able to make, a post a week about the song, then make a post a week about the song, but stay consistent with that.
My thing on consistency with branding is it's got to be when someone thinks about you or your brand, whether they see it, on the internet or if they see it, on a t-shirt by someone walking by on the street, or if they go to your concert and they see you, there has to be a consistency with your brand, what it looks like, and what's the aesthetic. You know what I mean? If you're rock and roll, then it's got to be rock and roll everywhere. The video, the way the video is edited has to be grimy, grungy rock and roll. The way that you dress has to be rock and roll. The music, the topics that you talk about have to be rock and roll. You know what I mean? You can't, all of a sudden have really clean music and then be like a really hardcore guy. You know what I mean?
Right. So. And I think it's very important to point out that you can be consistent in an album or in a single drop or a rollout or a marketing kind of idea. A great example of this is Tyler, the Creator, right? So he drops a record and he's consistent with the dress, with the wig, with the vibe of that record and the vibe of that album, which went on to, of course, we know, win a Grammy. But Tyler, the Creator, is like consistently an artist. He's consistently pushing the boundaries of what art is. He's known for that. He's known for his visual art stuff. He's known for throwing parties, etc. And he's known to be kind of a wild card. So he's very consistent with that. He doesn't all of a sudden get like very corporate, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You have to have consistency across like your releases. So I recommend if you're going to do like an EP, for example, make sure that EP is very consistent and you're going with the imaging, the logos, the design, the way you're dressing for it, the way you're going and playing your shows out, etc. It all is very consistent all the way across the board.
Last thing I'll say on this is, this is Brad's favorite thing to point out is when you're a brand already and you start taking on money and to promote products and stuff, mm-hmm. those products have to be consistent with your brand. You can't be promoting things that are not, in line with what you do, and vice versa. You can't expect brands to be in line with you if you're not consistent with your messaging,
because they get
and what
confused.
You want to do.
They're like, why would we want to partner up with you? That's so confusing. We don't know what you do. You do like SoundCloud shouts. Wait, you do story posts for your digital market? Wait, you're a rapper? I don't understand what you're doing. You know, and I think that that's the important part, is that you kind of have to put your money in up front and operate in the red up front to just be consistent with your messaging and your branding and what you're doing, instead of just grabbing at quick cash all the time, because I think that that kind of kills your ability to have a long-lasting brand that's going to go into 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's going to be like, wow, this is a powerful brand that people want to partner up with. So, and that brings us right to number 2, and I think a super important aspect of branding and releasing and being consistent is absolute saturation. And I think that this was mentioned when we had a podcast with Concept. Mm-hmm. You know, he was like, it's really powerful to release everything at once on all platforms. So you release a single and it goes out on all the digital distributions, and then you're also getting interviews all over the place, and everyone's seeing you all at once, and it's saturating all these markets of where your listeners are, your audiences. I think that's massively powerful, though.
That's kind of towards what, you know, Grant talks about a lot, which is omnipresence.
Yeah, exactly. Omnipresence. You got to be, they open up Twitter and they go, oh my God, he's there. And then they're like, open up Facebook, and it's like, you know, it's everywhere. So to put that into perspective, you know, you have to be really constant on all platforms, and, you know, not just the ones that you want to be on. Yeah, facts.
You have to have a following that translates everywhere. So you know, just make sure when you're doing things as a brand that you're consistent with where you release it, and basically try to maximize, honestly.
Yeah, I think you know, a big mistake that I see a lot of artists making, or even producers, is that they get on their Instagram game, they start making posts, and they start getting daily about that, and they're being consistent with it, but they're like only on Instagram. Like, you just released a single, you should have interviews lined up, you should have someone like a smaller podcast that you can get on, like go do a podcast with them, use that content, put it on Facebook, go do some stuff on Facebook, do a Facebook Live, go jump onto you know, TikTok and do a TikTok thing, and ask some influencers there if they would be down to, you know, do a music thing with your music. Get interviews going, hire a PR person. I mean, I'm just giving you like a ton of ideas. Hopefully you're writing these down, but like take a few of these and start putting them into your music, because rolling out your music on Instagram is probably you're looking at maybe 5% of where you're actually getting reach. So why just roll it out on Instagram and then try to get people to go to your DistroKid profile and pre-save? It's like, what are you doing? Like, it seems so counterintuitive to me. When you have all these platforms at your use and they're free. Like, Facebook's free, TikTok's free, Instagram's free. Like, stories are free.
Well, it takes time. Time is the investment, right?
Yeah, so. And it's timing and energy and making your own content and doing what you can do with what you have. And I think if you're an artist, you should be artistic about this stuff, and you should saturate as much as you can. And I see it all the time. It's like, dude, you're an artist, but you're not being creative about your releases. You're just like putting a post on Instagram and then going, well, I only had that one thing to put on Instagram, so I'm just going to keep putting it up, the same video. And it's like, maybe that's not what you need to do, you know?
Yeah.
You need to be on YouTube, everywhere.
Yeah, and then I guess the next thing on saturation, just to kind of give you another perspective on it, is that really it takes, you know, when you look at the basics of marketing, it takes up to 11 to 12 times of someone seeing the same exact thing, or, right, you know, the same product, for that to actually, for them to recognize it, know it, and, you know, be comfortable even purchasing it. So,
facts.
Yeah, that's how much time it takes, and that's part of saturation. So you have to, it's similar to what we just talked about in consistency, but yeah, you have to make sure that, you know, you're hitting, your potential clients over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with different stuff, but the same song.
Same song, you know? Same thing. So yeah. I know everyone likes to, you know, flavor the week, drop a song, but you really have to be consistent with, you know, dropping and releasing the same material, same song, and promoting it, and so that people can really start to like it.
Facts. You got to give them a reason to go check out the next song that you're going to drop in a month or two.
Yeah. So to go on to the next a piece of advice, which is being unique, standing out, which is, I guess, really the hardest thing for a lot of you know, people to really conceptualize and figure out.
Right.
So, you know, it's really kind of making a decision to me, because and it's hard because it's easy to get accepted for doing things that are already accepted. So
Facts.
sounding like this type of way on a song, it's really accepted. To dress this type of way, it's really accepted.
Yeah.
It's really accepted to have this type of artwork or this logo or this branding. It's really accepted to do these things. It's not accepted to create your own lane or be different. You know what I mean? So it's hard for a lot of artists to be different because, people may not like that change or that sort of difference, but you have to find something unique within that difference that people identify and like. You know what I mean? So
Facts.
not just be different to be different. So
Yeah, I think that's actually a really important aspect of this is figuring out what makes you unique, and this is really easy. I think people overcomplicate this, to be honest. Listen to your family and your friends that you've grown up with. What do they say about you that's unique? And write that stuff down and figure it out. Like, you hear it all the time from the same people. Yo, the way you do this is super unique. Yo, you know what makes you special? So-and-so, like, you do this like this. You're really good at this. Like, pay attention to the things that come really easy. That's like one of my best pieces of advice of figuring out what makes you unique. It's like, if you started to like sing on something and like people are like, dude, you're a really good singer. Like, where did that come from? And you're like, dude, I don't know. I've never taken voice lessons. I just started singing and a year ago, 2 years ago. If that comes easy to you, that's going to make you unique. So play around with that. Play around with the idea that you're a singer. Market yourself as a singer, right? I think those things will help you stand out. Just finding what you personally are unique for, right? So what gets you going, what turns you on, what makes you excited, and what's easy for you, and what comes easy for you, and then dive into that and really try to brand that up, whatever that uniqueness is. The mistake that everyone's making is chasing things because they see that, like, oh, Tyler the Creator did some cool shit and he won a Grammy. Or a great example is, what's her face? The girl and her brother, bedroom producer.
Billie Eilish?
Yeah, Billie Eilish. Great example, right? Like, oh, look what Billie did. I better go run and do that same thing because she won a Grammy this way. It's because that's her. That's how they do it. They're themselves. They marketed and branded that way. Like, yo, this is my vibe. I'm this girl and I produce with my brother in the bedroom and this is how I dress and I'm, this is what I am, who I am. This is what makes me unique. And then everyone goes and chases that. Like, I need to be like Billie Eilish because that's hot. It's so dumb. That's the stupidest thing you could do. Like, she won a bunch of Grammys over so many people that were doing things just copying everybody else, right? So that's something you should pay attention to. Just being unique, find out what that is for you by listening to people that love you and that are close to you. Simple. I'll
speak a little bit on the artist journey because I think this kind of goes hand in hand with being unique. Like, when you first start as an artist, it's actually important, but it's very easy to kind of sound like your influences. And so it's part of the artist journey is to kind of mimic what you like. And after doing that a while, you will find, things that are unique to you, but you always have to be striving to be unique in that journey. So I'm not saying don't go try out Travis Scott's flow or what I mean, or the Migos flow or have the same aesthetic as, whatever rapper you want to put, you know what I mean? You can dress like them or, you know what I mean? Rock the braids too. But at a certain point, you should be striving, you know what I mean? Once you've mastered certain things, you have to strive to, obviously make it your own somehow. So
yeah, agreed. 100%.
And I'm not, art is built upon art. So there's, to think that we all have, some sort of unique idea. Every chord has been played, every melody has been, written already. Right. But it's the way that you make it your own. So
it's the nuances.
Yeah.
And the truth is like, yeah, you could sound like Drake to a bunch of people, and then some people will tell you that you sound like someone completely different. So, art is very subjective. I think, the Beatles and the Beach Boys were like known for ripping each other off. They both ripped each other off back and forth. And it goes the same way with all modern music. I don't care if you're in trap, R&B, hip hop, whatever, or you're in pop or you're in country. Everybody rips each other off, no matter what. And everybody's inspired by everybody else's music. And there's nothing wrong with that. But your uniqueness should be personal to you. It should be something where you're like, I'm really good at this naturally. I'm going to dive into that and explore it. And put it out there. Don't be afraid to put your story out there. I think that's really important. But that brings us to the fourth thing, and I think that is probably overlooked by everybody out there trying to run anything, any posts on Instagram, any posts anywhere in the world. And before we get into this, if you haven't already, smash the like button. Go drop a comment. What makes you unique? What makes your music unique? Like, who are you? Where are you from? What kind of artists are you? What are you doing that's unique? And what are you doing that's copying people? Like, what questions do you guys have? Drop a comment. And if you're liking this stuff, hit the sub. But number 4, shareability. Content nowadays has to be shareable. Every single platform on anything, anywhere, is all about how much engagement you get. It's about how many people stream your music. It's about how many people comment, like, share your post. On Instagram, it's about them bookmarking it, right? They save it. That's engagement for Instagram. They repost it on their story. They share it with their friends. They tag people on it. That's what it's about. And if you're putting a post up, the first thing you need to think about is, why would somebody want to share this? If it's you with your shirt off and you're like, yo, you should listen to my song because I have my shirt off. Why? Who's going to share that? Think about your audience. Like, who is your audience, and why would they share that on their posts? Would they be embarrassed to share that? Would they be like, no, I don't even, this is weird, man. I'm going to feel uncomfortable sharing this, Like, then don't post it. Like, straight up. Like, if you don't feel like it's shareable all the way around to your audience, and be specific to your audience, that's super important, but if it's not shareable and they can't promote it and they can't feel part of the vibe, they can't be part of the team, then you're just being narcissistic. You're pleasing yourself, You're like, yeah, I think this is cool. I want to make sure that I'm put out this way. It's like, no, think about things that are shareable, that people like, that your audience likes. Just like when you write music, you don't write music just for you that you're going to go put out and promote. You write music for people to dance to, for people to make love to, for people to do drugs to, Think about that. Like, it's got to be shareable. It's really important.
Yeah, so, I mean, the basis of what we're talking about with shareability is connection. You have to be able to create content that connects to the audience, to the people that are, either on your Spotify, within the actual music, or when we're talking about like the post you put up, even to your music video, it's gotta connect to people.
Yeah.
And like Brad said, it's more about not thinking about what you want to see or how you want to do it, but really thinking about how the people that are you're trying to gain or capture as your audience,
I think
would connect to it.
I think just the people that are already really vibing with you and your music and your stuff. Like, think about, like, you need to be an empath. You have to have empathy for the people that you're serving. It's like anything in business, right? You're either like fixing something, or you're solving a problem, or you're taking care of people. You know what I mean? You're easing stress. What are you doing? Like, because you promoting yourself with like selfies and pictures of you just being a guy, like, or a girl out on the beach or whatever, that's narcissistic. It's not for your audience, unless literally you're straight up like have a huge fan base and you're the Backstreet Boys back in 2000. You know what I mean? You got to think about where you're at and who you're trying to talk to. And the people that are buying your tickets now to go to your show, are they buying them because you are this sexy dude or sexy girl? Or do they really like your music and they want to get personal with you and they want to find things that they can share with you, What do you have in common with them? That's what I think about.
And this connects a lot to uniqueness. And I'll say on that, like, one of the main points Brad brought up in uniqueness was story. So being shareable, connecting to your audience, story is a really powerful way to do that. So tell your story and really, be authentic to yourself. You know what I mean? You don't have to. I know it might be cooler to be someone else, but really just be yourself and tell your story. And I think people will find, will connect to it. And this is all about getting feedback, because if you tell your story, you're going to figure out what people connect to.
Yeah,
and then you can honestly keep creating content, about maybe that certain part of your life story or whatever it may be.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I mean, is this stuff helpful? Like, if it's really helpful, like, go ahead and smash the like button and make a comment. Like, say, yo, this was helpful. This is amazing. And start to implement these things. They're really going to help you figure out, like, how you're going to get more engagement and how you can have a brand that's going to be, stuff that you're like, oh, that didn't work. maybe that's not my brand. Maybe I felt like I was pushing into someone else's brand, when I was marketing or doing that video shoot or whatever. Just be yourself, do this stuff, be consistent, saturation, be unique, stand out a little bit, get that shareability going, like make posts that are shareable, make content that's funny or it's uplifting, inspiring, motivating, give someone something. Like, I want to give you a laugh today. I want to give you something to think about. I want to give you some knowledge. I want to give you a song that you can dance to and have fun with, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, let me drop some practicals real quick, and then we'll move on to the next one, which is like, especially when it comes to content, and if we're talking Instagram and stuff like that, you want to create stuff that, like I said, connects to your fans, or at least gives them, some way to interact. So if you're thinking about shareability and connection and interaction, stuff like, the little heart meter, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can put a song out and you can kind of gauge what people think about it, or creating questions and on Instagram story where people can type questions to you and you can talk back to them.
Oh, so
and
important.
Stuff like that. These things are very shareable content and stuff like that, and it creates that connection. And I think
start to engage.
That's kind of like the basis of what used to happen back in the day, which is, when I say back in the day, probably like 90s and 80s and stuff like that. In the music industry, it's just like that type of stuff. Artists used to get on the phones and call their fans, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's the same,
dude,
the same old
the radio
idea.
station, remember, it's like, yo, call up the radio station and request my song,
You could call and you could talk to your favorite artist on the radio station, stuff like that. So you have to find that way in 2020, how to do that,
Facts.
you know what I mean, with your fans.
Yeah, and that's easier now. You got a phone in your pocket. But let's get to the last one. And I really appreciate you guys tuning in to Radium Podcast every week. It's something we love doing. It's something that we take out of our pocket in time, money, and cameras and equipment and stuff. So appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you're getting something out of this. And the way you can give back is just spread the love, right? Share the messaging. But the last one is going to be collaboration.
Calibration.
Yeah, you got to calibrate yourself. No, collaboration. And collaboration is, I would say, the most powerful thing right now in 2020. It's all over the place. One thing I would say about collaboration is that everything is pushing collaboration, no matter what it is. The whole world is trying to collaborate. A great example, Instagram Live. You go live, right? It's going to go, I'm going to tell all your friends about you, right? But then when you go live with somebody, like say Kevin decides he wants to jump into my live, what does it do on your Instagram? Notifies you, right? Says like, yo, Bradley HD is going live with KDE Beats. It's going to tell all the following. It's going to go bam, 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 bam. Hey, you're going live with so-and-so. Kevin gets off. I start going live with Will. Bradley HD, they're going to notify you again. Bradley HD is going live with Will Martin's music. You know what I mean? And that is so powerful because it's collaboration and they see engagement. Same thing with TikTok. Mm-hmm. Right? They do the split screen. They do the collaboration. Let's collaborate on content. YouTube is the hugest collaboration. We actually have a collaboration coming out where this channel, Kyra TV, came through and they shot some stuff here. And it was a collaboration with us and their YouTube channel and Binu Beats. Go follow him. But it's like, it's all about collaboration. It's all about everybody working together because they want the social media platforms to be social again. Can you fucking believe it? It's unbelievable that they actually want people to be social on the internet, so that's what it's all about. And the more you collaborate, the more you're going to realize what your voice is, what people like you for. Is it your video? Is it your captions? Is it your pictures? Is it that you make funny memes?
Yeah, on collaboration, I think like when I think about it and how it develops your brand, I think it's obviously kind of back to what we said with consistency. You got to collaborate with like brands, you know what I mean? Don't... If you're, you can't do something about fur and stuff like that if you're vegan or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you can't be wearing fur if you're vegan.
You're like a rapper at doing a collaboration with a flower shop to promote their flowers.
Yeah, some weird. You could figure out any bad.
Just because you're getting a check for it.
We see it all the time. Yeah. But yeah, as far as collaboration, like especially in music and stuff like that, having features and stuff, that's obviously been a thing for the last like probably 10, 20 maybe.
Yeah, facts.
The rise of DJ Khaled music, you know what I mean? Yeah. Style music. So
collaboration, baby.
But yeah, what collabs do with your brand is it's basically what we call co-signing. So you kind of get co-signed, and this really helps develop your brand quite a bit. You know what I mean? And that's like, it really, for me, I like to think it's simple back into rap terms because there's so many cosigns in rap.
Yeah, facts.
But it allows other fans, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, they have a song together, so must be on that level, or he must be just as dope. And this goes, if you're in YouTube, you know what I mean? Oh, this big YouTuber collaborated with this smaller YouTuber. That smaller YouTuber now is dope or acceptable or whatever word you want to use.
They must really fuck with their ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So that the whole cosign methodology it's really important in collaboration. So. And really, you know, we could go really deep on this, but, you know, the whole value model and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as developing your brand, collaborations help co-sign you. So that's why they're important.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And you're always going to be, when you're collaborating with someone, you're always dipping into their audience. So you're getting an opportunity to be in front of their audience. And a great way to put this into the real world is like if you go to a business conference, a music conference, ASCAP Expo, etc., you're going to have all these A&Rs, you're going to have all these people speaking, and it's sort of like, oh, ASCAP is affiliated with this amazing producer that I like. ASCAP must be the one that I should sign up with. Mm-hmm. It's just automatically, people make these connections. It's really important, and you're connecting with their audience, and you're dipping into that audience. But collaboration is massively powerful, and just to reiterate these 5 things, like, if you want to write these down, it's consistency, keeping consistent with everything from your content to your brand imaging to your clothing to your rollout strategy on your, you know, your EP or whatever. Mm-hmm. Number 2, saturation. Saturate the market. Don't be afraid. Like, don't be afraid that like you put out a piece of content and you feel like you're tired of it. Or your music, like, oh, that single, I'm so tired of it. I want to make a new one. It's like nobody's heard it, I promise you. And you could tell by just checking out your analytics on the back end of Spotify, Apple Music, etc. So saturate the market. Get out there. Like, push for PR, push for content being everywhere at once. Number 3, unique, stand out. That's obvious. Number 4, shareability. We talked about all this stuff. And number 5, collaboration, not calibration.
You can calibrate too, though.
You got to calibrate, though, by tuning in and staying tuned in to the Radium podcast every week, because we're dropping every week and we're dropping plugin of the week every week, all of our favorite plugins. I hope you guys enjoy this stuff. Really, if you do, really love it. Please, 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 it would mean the world to us to go share it, like it, comment on this, subscribe to the channel, and just spread the love, you know? Trying to help more people, trying to make more episodes.
And I think we should plug real quick, too, because we're both guys, and we're both offering even more information beyond this and beyond the YouTube channel. Brad has a really dope ads course. It's breaking down, you know, from a beginner level how to get you know, your ads going, and you know, step by step. Brad, why don't you take it away and explain a little bit more, because this is kind of important about, you know, developing your brand. So.
Yeah, so a lot of this is, you know, we're at our 80th podcast. If you click the link in the description, you're going to find my Facebook IG ads course. It's really like a great overview for you to get up and running with your business ads, Facebook Business Manager, get it all set up and going. And then, hey, reach out and let's talk from there about how we can start to scale your business. Because I think a big part of this is once you have all these things in line, you got this great music, you got your great brand strategy, you got some cool stuff. How do you get it in front of more people, right? And never put marketing before all that stuff, because you will be wasting a lot of money. But if you are at that point where you feel like, man, I got some great stuff and I need people to see and hear a lot more of it, then grab the ads course. It's super affordable. It's made for everybody that's coming up. Even if you've ran ads before, maybe you watch the course and you find some things that, oh my God, I wasn't even thinking about that, and I've wasted thousands of dollars. And also tap in with Kevin's vocal mixing tutorial below. And I know we're plugging all this stuff, but it's really important that if you do want to go to the next step, the next level in your career, you have that option to do it with us. So grab that as well. It's very in-depth vocal mixing tutorial in Pro Tools.
Using the Isotope Nectar plugin.
Oh yeah, and
it's for beginners too. You know, it's like you don't need to buy 10 million plugins. You just this one plugin, I can show you how to get a pro vocal. Yeah, you know, start to finish.
So that's a great course, and super affordable as well to just like step up your recording and mixing at least 20% easy. So thanks for tuning in, and appreciate you. Tune in next week for the next podcast, the big one.